My father instilled in me the belief that emotions were a sign of weakness from the very beginning. When I later sought therapy to untangle the damage he'd wrought, he tried to punish me for it. So I sent him to jail. Now, a year after his incarceration, he's spreading rumors to anyone who will listen, claiming I'm mentally unstable. The irony isn't lost on me. My earliest memory of his cruelty dates back to my 4th birthday. During the party, another child collided with me head first, sending me into a fit of tears. Instead of comforting me, my father dragged me to the bathroom and struck me hard. "You're a big boy now, and big boys don't cry," he declared coldly before abandoning me to nurse my hurt alone. From that moment on, I vowed never to let him see me vulnerable. I became so adept at suppressing my emotions that he began testing my resolve in increasingly twisted ways. I'd return home to find my beloved action figures dismembered with a steak knife, or he'd force me to watch grotesque horror movie compilations on TV. Yet the visceral pain of that 4th birthday memory kept me steeled. I refused to break. My older brother Sam tried to soften the damage in secret. When our father wasn't around, he'd sit beside me, gently stroking my hair and whisper, "It's okay to show emotions. Just don't do it in front of Dad. You can always come to me." But by then, I was so desperate for my father's approval that I dismissed Sam as weak. I never betrayed his kindness to our dad, but privately, I resented him. I even harbored dark wishes for his demise, convinced his softness made him deserving of punishment. That twisted belief seemed to manifest one fateful Halloween night in New York City. Dad was driving Sam to school with me in the back seat when a speeding car nearly collided with us. As we caught our breath from the near miss, a truck blindsided us. Miraculously, I walked away with only a concussion. But when I glanced back at the wreckage, Sam's body remained motionless. A hollow numbness swallowed me whole. I now recognize it as dissociation. Days later, when the fog lifted, I rationalized his death. He died because he was weak. I survived because I'm strong. Through the entire ordeal, I didn't shed a tear. My stoicism earned my father's fervent pride. "You're a real man," he praised. "You'll grow up big and strong." His words became my lifeline, the only validation I craved. To bury the creeping despair in my heart, I drowned it in apathy and self-destruction. My teenage years blurred into a cycle of endless naps and compulsive eating. By 15, I weighed 400 pounds, a reclusive, numb shell of a person. Empathy felt like a foreign concept. I operated on a mantra of, if I hurt someone, that's their problem. At 16, my guidance counselor summoned me for a mandatory meeting. Braced for lectures on my selfishness or weight, I instead found myself locked in the gaze of her piercing blue eyes. "Nate, I'm concerned about you. We all are," she said softly, sliding a glossy therapy pamphlet across her desk. "Take this. I think it can really help." "What the fuck?" I exploded, leaping to my feet. "Respectfully," I snarled, clinging to the shred of politeness my father had drilled into me. "I don't need a shrink." I crumpled the pamphlet into my pocket and stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the framed diplomas on our wall. It was the kind of reaction my father would have applauded. Until later that evening, when everything changed. Dad was sprawled on the couch watching The Shawshank Redemption, Sam's favorite movie. From the stairs, I could hear Morgan Freeman's narration drifting up, and suddenly, Sam's face flickered in my mind. I remembered how he'd recite every line seconds before the characters did, grinning like a fool even as Dad rolled his eyes. For the first time in years, a raw, jagged ache clawed at my throat. I want to cry. But my eyes stayed dry, stubborn as stone. Instead, I fished the crumpled pamphlet from my pocket and dialed the number. Yet. The therapist answered on the second ring. "I've been expecting your call," she said gently, as if we'd already met in some other life. We talked for an hour right then, no mention of fees or forms. By the end, I was muffling sobs into my pillow, terrified Dad would hear but too exhausted to care. After that, I began journaling, meditating, clawing my way back to feeling something. It drained me so thoroughly I'd nap for hours afterward. Yet I craved it, like relearning how to breathe. For the first time, I understood why people didn't just give up. My heart felt heavy but alive, a swollen river after a drought. One afternoon, that newfound lightness bubbled over. I was at the kitchen table, knee bouncing under the table, when Dad glanced up from his hot dog. "Son, what's gotten you so amped up? Is it a girl?" he asked, smirk tugging at his lips. Actually, Dad, I blurted, I started therapy. The hot dog froze midair. You what? The vein in his temple pulsed like a live wire. I bolted as he hurled his chair at the wall, the crack of splintering wood chasing me down the hall. Tears blurred my vision as I barricaded myself in my room, dialing 911 with trembling hands. Help's on the way, the operator assured me, but Dad's roar drowned her out. Nate, open this door! Each pound rattled the frame. You think you need therapy? I'll give you something to cry about. I pressed against the door, phone clutched to my chest, imagining Sam's voice. Proud of you, kid. When the police arrived, Dad morphed into someone else. Charming, bewildered, the doting father worried about his troubled boy. But the shattered living room and my tear-streaked face betrayed him. As officers led him outside, a female cop stayed with me, her steady gaze coaxing out the truth I'd buried for years. The next morning, I woke in a sunlit room that smelled of lavender, not mildew. Floral wallpaper and lace curtains swam into focus. Aunt Patricia's house. After my statement, the police had called her. Dad's estranged sister, a ghost at family functions who sipped Chardonnay by the punch bowl and vanished before dessert. Her ranch house crouched on the edge of town, cluttered with porcelain angels and a fat tabby named Mr. Whiskers who hissed if you glanced his way. A soft knock jarred me awake. Aunt Patricia hovered in the doorway, her angular face caught between concern and irritation, or maybe she just hated being stuck with me. Breakfast is ready, she said, tone clipped. I shuffled after her to a kitchen steeped in stifling silence. A bowl of Cheerios and dry toast sat waiting, the cereal already turning soggy. She scrubbed spotless dishes at the sink while I ate, the scrape of her sponge louder than any words. Mr. Whiskers perched atop the fridge like a gargoyle, tail flicking as he glared. Your father called this morning, she said abruptly, back still turned. He wants to talk to you. I choked on a mouthful of milk. I don't want to talk to him. She sighed, shoulders sagging as if I'd handed her a boulder. Nate, I know things got heated, but he's still your father. I stared at the rigid line of her spine, gut twisting. Whose side are you on? She turned, dish towel wringing between her hands. Boys need their fathers, she murmured, avoiding my eyes. Especially at your age. Words clogged my throat. He hit me. He called Sam weak. He's why I'm here. But I shoveled another spoonful in instead, milk dripping onto the checkered tablecloth. The days that followed were a suffocating limbo. Aunt Patricia's spare bedroom smelled like mothballs and regret. She lent me my cousin's old clothes, threadbare band tees that strained across my shoulders, jeans that dug into my waist. I wore the same sweatpants from home for a week, the elastic fraying. While she clocked hours at her insurance job, I haunted her house like a ghost, binge-watching courtroom dramas and demolishing her stockpile of granola bars. Yeah, Dr. Rivera saved me. When I texted her, panicked about costs, she scheduled a virtual session before I could backtrack. We'll figure it out, she promised, and for once, I believed someone. That tiny blue dot on my calendar, session, 3 p.m., became an anchor. By week's end, the walls were closing in. Patricia spoke only in necessities. Did you eat? Need toilet paper? Her house wasn't built for guests. Every surface gleamed, every trinket perfectly angled. My presence left smudges on her pristine world. Then the betrayal. Midnight thirst drove me to the kitchen. I froze in the hallway when Patricia's hissed whisper cut through the dark. I know, Richard. I know. My father's name hit like a shiv. Pressed against the wall, I caught fragments. Just confused. Needs time. Your son. Needs you. Her words coiled around my lungs. She's negotiating with him. The floor creaked as I edged closer, desperate to hear Dad's side, but only her pleas floated back. A dinner might help. I'll bring him Saturday. I retreated, throat burning. That night, I memorized the cracks in Patricia's ceiling, each one a tally of her disloyalty. Morning came too bright. Your dad wants us over for dinner Saturday, she announced over burnt toast, feigning nonchalance. He's making spaghetti and meatballs, your favorite. The click of her knife against the plate dared me to refuse. I wanted to scream, to vanish, but reality pinned me down. No money, no friends, nowhere to run. The system wasn't built for 400-pound runaways. So I nodded, the word ash on my tongue. Fine. The countdown to Saturday unspooled like a noose. The days before the dinner played like a horror movie montage in my head. Would Dad pretend the violence never happened? Would he scream, or worse, apologize? Would he demand I return home, fists or guilt as his weapons? Sleep became a minefield. When I managed to drift off, I'd dream of our house flooding, murky water rising past my knees as I pounded on locked windows, Dad's laughter echoing through the walls. Saturday dawned with Patricia fussing over a stiff button-up she'd bought. For the occasion, she insisted, though the occasion was a hostage negotiation disguised as a meal. Her car hummed with unbearable silence on the drive over, broken only by a tinny Vivaldi concerto on the radio. Dad swung the door open before we reached the porch, grinning like a game show host, apron tied over a collared shirt. The house reeked of lemon polish and fresh-baked bread. Every trace of that night, the shattered chair, the splintered wall, had been scrubbed away, replaced by a mismatched dining set and a vase of grocery store carnations. There's my boy. He lunged for a hug. I sidestepped, his arms closing on empty air. His smile twitched but rebounded. Come in, I made your favorite. The dining table gleamed with Mom's antique china, reserved for holidays and funerals. Garlic bread steamed in a basket lined with checkered cloth. The performance was flawless. Patricia, mind checking the garlic bread? Dad nodded toward the kitchen. The second she vanished, his hand clamped my shoulder, fingers digging into bone. Glad you're home. He rasped, breath hot with peppermint gum. We'll talk later. Been reflecting. Before I could recoil, Patricia reappeared, obliviously arranging bread on a platter. Dinner was a masterclass in gaslighting. Dad regaled Patricia with sanitized tales from his hardware store. Mrs. Jenkins tried to return a dead fern she bought in *2018*, and chuckled at her polite replies. He never once met my eyes. I dissected my meatballs into mush, forcing bites when their stares grew too heavy. Why don't you grab some clothes upstairs? Dad suggested after dessert, sponging non-existent sauce off his plate. Patricia and I'll clean up. My bedroom was a museum of abandonment. Dirty laundry fossilized on the carpet, half-finished soda cans lining the desk. I stuffed my backpack blindly until a glint of spiral binding caught my eye. My therapy journal. Ice flooded my veins. I'd hidden it under Patricia's guest bed, wrapped in a sweatshirt. Now it lay splayed on my desk, pages warped as if gripped too tightly. Red ink slashed the margins next to I miss Sam every day week. Beneath therapy makes me feel human. Pathetic crybaby. The room tilted. He'd crept into Patricia's house, rummaged through my things, dissected my pain like a lab specimen. And now he was downstairs, whistling as he scraped plates, the doting father auditioning for an Oscar. I crammed the journal into my backpack alongside crumpled t-shirts, then staged a retreat. In the bathroom, I hunched over the toilet, gagging theatrically while the faucet gushed. Splashing icy water on my face, I studied my reflection. Pale, clammy, a convincing performance. Back downstairs, I pressed a hand to my stomach. I don't feel good. Can we go? Dad's smile curdled, but Patricia sprang up, keys already jingling. Of course, honey. Let's get you home. The word hung like a taunt, but I clung to it. Dad trailed us to the door, his palm a brand between my shoulder blades. We'll try again soon, he said, sweetness laced with threat. In Patricia's car, I hugged my backpack like it held a heartbeat. Back at her house, I barricaded myself in the spare room, wedging a chair under the knob. The journal fell open to his crimson scrawl. Weak, pathetic. I shredded every defiled page, watching the scraps swirl down the toilet like toxic confetti. That night, I slept with a steak knife stolen from Patricia's block beneath my pillow, its serrated edge grazing my fingertips. Trust had become a foreign currency. School was a gauntlet. Whispers coiled around me like smoke. He pulled a knife on his dad. Foster care. Meth head. Terry Matthews cornered me after English, breath reeking of Doritos. True your old man's in jail? I snarled, eat shit, and his smirk melted into opportunity. By third period, the principal's secretary fetched me. Mr. Anderson's office smelled of lemon sanitizer and judgment. "Threatening peers is unacceptable, Nate," he intoned, peering over bifocals. "Your circumstances don't excuse violence." The injustice choked me silent. As I slunk out, the secretary's phone call leaked through the door. Concerned about Nathan's violent tendencies. The voice on the line, gravelly, manipulative, was unmistakably Dad's. Therapy became my bunker. Dr. Rivera's screen-pixelated face never flinched. "Have you considered learning about your mother?" she asked one session, tilting her head. "Understanding her story might help you reclaim yours." Mom was a ghost. Dad's sole offering. Car accident. You were 6 months old. Her face existed only in a single Polaroid. Her cradling newborn me, exhaustion and awe etched into her smile. "Ask your aunt," Dr. Rivera urged. "Family secrets lose power in the light." The next day, while Patricia clocked hours at her cubicle, I ransacked her home office. Filing cabinets coughed up tax returns, coupon bundles, then, tucked beneath manuals, a leather album, dusty as a tomb. Pages crackled with Dad and Patricia's childhood. Fishing trips, Christmas mornings, a scowling teen dad. Then her. Mom. Black hair tangled in wind, eyes crinkled against sun. In one photo, she hugged a younger Patricia at a picnic, her grin luminous yet shadowed, as if she sensed the storm ahead. Another caught her mid-laugh, head thrown back, but her fingers gripped the tablecloth like an anchor. I traced her features, my nose, my stubborn brow, and for the first time, grief didn't feel like failure. The album unfolded like a horror story in reverse. Early photos showed Mom and Dad as newlyweds, her smile wide but strained at the edges, his grip on her waist possessive. Later, her glow dimmed, cheeks hollowed, shoulders hunched as if bracing for impact. In a Christmas snapshot, Dad's arms slung around her. She recoiled like his touch burned. I hurled the album onto Aunt Patricia's coffee table. "Tell me about my mom." She froze, grocery bags slipping from her hands. "Nate." "Everything." She sank onto the couch, hands nodding in her lap. "Claire was sunlight." Her voice frayed. "We met in community college. She'd paint these wild desertscapes, canyons bleeding into sunsets. Wanted to teach kids to see beauty everywhere." "Why'd she marry him?" Patricia flinched. I begged her not to. Even back then, Richard had a temper. Once he smashed her easel because she missed his bowling night, but she thought love could fix him. "The accident," I pressed. "What really happened?" Her gaze darted to the ceiling. A tell. "Single car crash, empty road. They said she fell asleep." "Bullshit." She shot up, cheeks mottled. "It was ruled an accident. End of story." That night, I invaded her attic. The pull-down ladder groaned like a warning. Dust motes swirled in my phone's beam, settling on boxes labeled Xmas Decor and Pats. College. Behind a mildewed armchair, I found it. "Lisa, keep." Inside, oil paintings of crimson mesas, journals swollen with pressed flowers, and a shoebox of VHS tapes. Lisa 8 MOs glared in a shaky script. I smuggled it all downstairs, ancient VCR whirring to life. Grainy footage showed Mom pregnant, radiant yet brittle at a kitchen table. "I like Nathan," she murmured, hands circling her belly. "It means I gift." Off camera, Dad's laugh cut like glass. "We decided on Richard Jr." "I thought we were still—" "We decided." He loomed into frame, blotting out the light. Mom shrank back, fingers splayed protectively. "Richard, turn it off. I'm tired." "You're always tired." The camera jostled as he stepped closer. "Maybe if you weren't so goddamn lazy." The screen fizzed to static. I replayed it, freezing on Mom's face, her eyes darting to the camera, a silent scream. "Run," I willed her. "Take me and run." But the tape ended, as all her stories did, in darkness. The tapes became a morbid archive of her unraveling. Mom's laughter growing brittle, her posture folding inward like origami, Dad's voice sharpening into a blade. "You're overdressed? Put that away, stop crying." Then, the tape that rewired my DNA. Mom sat alone, the camera propped on a dresser. Her face was a roadmap of bruises artfully concealed with powder. "If you're watching this, Nate," she whispered, knuckles white around her swollen belly, "it means I found the courage to leave, or he finally broke me." A tear streaked her cheek. "Either way, listen, don't trust him. Not his apologies, not his promises. The man I married is—" The bedroom door crashed open off-screen. Mom's hands flew to her stomach as she pasted on a pantomime smile. "Hi, honey. Just making a video for the baby." "Give me the camera, Lisa." Dad's shadow swallowed the frame. The screen died mid-sentence. I sat paralyzed, the VCR's click echoing like a gunshot. Mom hadn't driven off any road. He'd pushed her, and I was next. School the next day dissolved into white noise. Equations, lectures, bells, all drowned beneath the roar of revelation. Dad's lessons weren't misguided love. They were generational warfare. Sam's death, my starvation for approval, the 400-pound armor. Every scar traced back to him. After final bell, Mr. Devlin materialized by my locker. The hall emptied as he loomed, tweed jacket smelling of chalk and cigars. "Miller, my room, now." His classroom reeked of disinfectant and decades of teenage despair. He shut the door, perching on his desk like a gargoyle. "You look like hell." Flu," I lied. He snorted. "Bullshit, I know that look. My old man had fists like cinder blocks." Reaching into his desk, he tossed me a battered notebook. Inside, scrawled in red ink. "I survived. You will too." When I looked up, his gaze held mine. Not pity, but pact. "Need help? Any kind?" The unspoken hung between us. "Burn him down. I'll bring the matches." That night, I weaponized my phone. Downloaded a voice recorder disguised as a calculator app. Tested it by whispering Mom's name, Lisa, into the dark. Dad struck lunch. I was dissecting a rubbery chicken patty when the cafeteria hushed. He stood in the doorway, apron still on, playing concerned patriarch. Kids craned necks as he beelined toward me. "Surprise. Too loud, too jolly. Let's get real food, yeah?" I thumbed the app. "Can't leave campus. I'll sign you out." His smile tightened. "Don't embarrass me, Nate." Under the table, my phone glowed. 0 hours, 3 minutes and 17 seconds recording. His threat hung between us like a lit fuse. I followed him to the car, my phone burning a hole in my pocket, its tiny mic devouring every word. The drive was a masterclass in cognitive dissonance. Dad humming along to classic rock, praising my maturity, while his knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. The diner was a relic. Cracked vinyl booths, coffee stains mapping the Formica table. Dad ordered pancakes. I asked for a burger I knew I'd choke on. The waitress, bored, gum-snapping, barely registered us. "When you coming home?" he asked the second she left. "Aunt Patricia's is fine for now." His fork screeched across the plate. "That's not your home." The recording app blinked. 0 hours, 12 minutes and 49 seconds. "You threw a chair," threatened me. "Temper's genetic." He smirked, syrup oozing over his stack. "Never laid a hand on you, did I?" The journal, Mom's tapes, Sam's coffin. "Don't actually know that," I muttered. His smile died. "Careful, that quack's warping your head. Think Patricia wants a 400-pound freeloader? That anyone does." The waitress slid our plates between us. Dad transformed, chuckling, tucking a $5 tip under his coffee cup. The second she turned, he leaned in, breath reeking of maple and menace. "Here's what's next." His whisper crawled under my skin. "Quit therapy, come home, pretend this tantrum never happened." My burger bled pink onto the fries. Or, he dabbed his mouth, genteel. "Expulsion's ugly. Shame if your violent streak got you kicked out." Bile rose. He'd poisoned the well. Principal, teachers, Patricia, all saw me through his cracked lens. Back at school, I vomited pancake chunks into a toilet, then replayed the recording. His velvet threats, my ragged breaths, all preserved. I uploaded it to 3 cloud accounts labeled evidence_1. The siege escalated. Dad ambushed us at Safeway, cornering me by the Lucky Charms. "Miss you, champ," he cooed, squeezing my shoulder until cartilage creaked. He flooded classmates' DMs. Tell Nate I'm worried, and left Dr. Rivera voicemails in a trembling, concerned parent act. I documented it all. My phone became a third limb, its storage bloated with his gaslighting dirge. But proof alone couldn't stop him, not yet. Then the truck. There it idled after school. Dad's rusted Ford, passenger window cracked to flick cigarette ash. I ducked behind the basketball team, detouring past the faculty lot where Mr. Devlin wrestled a tower of ungraded essays into his Corolla. Need a ride? He grunted, catching my reflection in his rear view. His car smelled of espresso grounds and Nietzsche paperbacks. At the first stoplight, I blurted, "How'd you know?" He didn't flinch. Recognized the look. My old man. A muscle jumped in his jaw. Had the same eyes as yours, hungry. The car idled at the curb, engine rattling like Dad's fraying patience. Teachers notice things, Mr. Devlin said, gripping the wheel. My old man, same mold, all charm in public, fists in private. How'd you get out? He flexed a scarred knuckle. Bailed at 17. Couch surfed, enlisted at 18. Difference is, he scribbled his number on a gas receipt. You've got allies now. The house felt colder that night. Patricia's crucifix clock ticked toward 8 p.m. as I channel surfed, jumpy as Mr. Whiskers. The lock clicked. Too early, too rough. Dad filled the doorway, key glinting like a trophy. Surprise. I vaulted off the couch. How? Emergency key. He lobbed it onto the side table. Patricia's very concerned about you. My phone was already recording in my pocket. She'll be back any minute. Bible study runs late. He stepped inside, soles grinding grit into the carpet. We've got time. He advanced, a storm in human skin. I've played nice, given you space. Each word dripped venom. Enough games, you're coming home. No, my voice didn't waver. Never. His laugh curdled. Minors don't get choices. Or what? I squared my stance. Break another wall? Hit me like you hit Mom? The mask slipped. Rage contorted his features. You ungrateful. Teach me not to cry? I roared, years of poison erupting. Turn me against Sam? He was right about you. Dad moved faster than I thought possible. 1 second seething, the next slamming me into the wall. Family photos rained down, glass shattering. You'll retract every lie, he hissed, beer breath scalding my face. Quit therapy, come home, now. Fear evaporated. Only fire remained. No. His slap split my lip. Copper bloomed on my tongue. I grinned crimson. That all you've got? He swung again. I ducked, shoving him with all 400 pounds of pent-up fury. He staggered, drunk on power and Budweiser. Fight me, I taunted. Show them what a real man you are. He charged, bull blind. I pivoted, foot hooking his ankle. The coffee table exploded beneath him, glass teeth gnashing his arm. Blood jeweled his forehead as he rose. I brandished my phone, its red recording light pulsing. Get out. For the first time, I saw it. Flicker of fear in his eyes. His father's eyes. He loomed in the wreckage of Patricia's living room, blood snaking down his temple. You think this buries me? His laugh grated like rusted metal. Who will believe a liar over a pillar of the community? I thumbed my phone awake, its screen blazing with recording 0 hours, 47 minutes and 22 seconds. They'll believe this? Threats, gaslighting, you lunging like a rabid dog. Something fractured behind his eyes, the primal terror of a predator realizing the trap's been sprung. He staggered forward just as tires crunched gravel outside. This isn't over, he snarled, but the words rang hollow. It's been over, I said as Patricia's shadow darkened the doorway. Her gasp sliced through the haze. Dad's bloodied knuckles, my busted lip, the glass glittering like 1,000 dead stars. He broke in, I said, voice steady as the phone's playback unspooled his growl. You're coming home tonight. Dad's charm died mid-sentence. Shoulder-checking Patricia, he vanished into the October chill. I'm calling the police. My fingers found 911 muscle memory. This time, the evidence spoke louder than his lies. The audio archive of his venom, Mom's damning tapes, journal pages screaming weak in his jagged script. The truth, finally, had teeth. Cops swarmed Patricia's ranch, flashlights prying at shadows. They bagged glass shards as I replayed the attack, their radios crackling with his warrants: assault, B&E, restraining order violations. Patricia hovered, ice pack trembling in her hands. I knew, she wept, smearing mascara. When Claire called saying she'd leave him. God, I prayed she'd take you and run. Then that accident. I let the silence hang. No more denials, no more lies. Dad was collared 3 days later at a motel reeking of bourbon and regret. The judge made it clear. 500 feet, anger management, parenting classes. As if monsters can be taught to kneel. School became a circus. Ghouls whispered, "Did he try to kill you?" In the halls, Mr. Devlin became my shadow, slipping me notes. Proud, keep fighting. I didn't bury him further. The RO was lifeboat enough. Patricia's metamorphosis was slower. Mothballed office reborn as my sanctuary. Band posters masking floral wallpaper. She learned my coffee order, left clippings about art schools near Mom's desert landscapes. In therapy, Dr. Rivera and I unearthed Sam's true legacy. Not weakness, but defiant tenderness. How he'd smuggled joy into our emotional bunker. And Mom? Her final tape wasn't surrender. It was a war cry across decades. The day I hung Mom's paintings in my new room, Patricia lingered in the doorway. Her voice frayed, she'd be so damn proud. For the first time, I believed it. One sleepless night, I opened my laptop and hit record. Not for views or validation, just for the ghost of the boy I'd been. The screen glared back, a digital confessional. I read journal entries aloud, my voice cracking over passages where Dad's red ink scarred the margins. Then I addressed the child in the bathroom on his 4th birthday, the one who learned to swallow tears like shards of glass. "It's okay," I told him, the words raw and unscripted. "You're allowed to feel everything. That's what makes you alive." The cursor hovered over delete for an eternity. Then, impulsively, I uploaded it to YouTube. No names, no specifics, just my fractured truth. By morning, the video had bled across the internet. Notifications bloomed, hundreds, then thousands. Strangers flooded the comments. "You described my dad. I've never told anyone. Thank you for making me feel less alone." One message gutted me. "You saved my life today." I didn't reply. Their words weren't for me. They were echoes in a cavern I'd spent years building. Mr. Devlin became my unlikely lifeline. He badgered me into SAT prep, scribbled recommendation letters that called me resilient AF, and taught me to change my oil in Patricia's driveway, grease smearing his dockers. "Life skills," he'd grunt, though I knew he was really saying, "I see you, keep going." Family evaporated. Aunts unfriended me on Facebook. Uncles cited 2 sides to every story. I stopped checking my voicemail. Blood ties, I learned, mean less than showing up. Patricia occupied the gray. She replaced my twin bed with a queen, painted the walls slate blue because beige is for waiting rooms. We ate takeout in silence most nights, but she always left leftovers labeled "Nate do not touch" in the fridge. It wasn't love, but it was safety. The July before college, I visited Sam's grave. Cicadas screamed in the oaks as I traced his name. Samuel Elias Miller, beloved son and brother. The lie etched in stone. I placed a river-smoothed rock atop his headstone, thumb rubbing its quartz veins. Then, for the first time since the funeral, I wept. Not delicate tears, but heaving sobs that shook the dragonflies from the grass. "You were right," I told him, snot dripping onto my shirt. "About everything." Forgiveness never came. How do you pardon a man who turned your heartbeat into a landmine? But I stopped letting him colonize my future. The evidence lives in a fireproof box beneath my dorm bed. Recordings, journals, Mom's tapes. Not weapons anymore, relics. Proof that survival is its own revolution. Sometimes I dream of that bathroom. The sting of Dad's slap, the porcelain chill as I pressed my cheek to the tile. If I could time travel, I'd cradle that boy and whisper, "Your tears are holy. Your rage is a compass. The world will try to shrink you. Don't let it." But clocks only spin forward. So I walk into the light I've clawed for, carrying every version of us that survived.